and let us all do we can to build a better future.
It's interesting seeing how liberals, vote blue no matter who, and Democrats feel now about the war in Ukraine and about the threat of nuclear Armageddon. You know, I remember a time when a lot of people, especially those liberals and some leftists, were all scared about when those nukes would be a-flying and there would be mushroom clouds in the sky. But I guess liberal heavyweight, Majority Report host Sam Sedar decides to get in a heated debate with a caller who wants the U.S. to stop arming and funding this proxy war in Ukraine because, again, it's only going to lead to the further escalation, dare I say, to World War III. And Sam just, I guess, saying, no, we have to fund Russia. We have to do it. We have to do it. Here, don't believe me? Let's play this video, and I will show it to all of you lovely people. Check it out.
Okay, so you're...
Hold on, let's rewind it. Sorry about that.
Okay, so you're still not admitting you're willing to risk nuclear war with this country. Just own it.
Am I willing to risk nuclear war? I think there's actually a greater risk of nuclear war the opposite way.
Sam, no matter how this plays out, we're all going to be dead. You live in New York City. I live in Chicago. We're going to be vaporized, baby. That's it, Sammy boy. We're going to be gone. How about no nukes? How about that? I know, controversial statement. How about we don't engage and escalate with another power that has nukes? I don't know. But hey, we're only 18 seconds into this video. Let's play the rest.
By not fighting Russia? How?
Because if having nukes becomes a license to invade countries without any even arming of the countries that you're invading, this country will start invading countries. Pakistan will start invading countries. Israel may start invading countries.
We've invaded countries. Oh, wait. Oh, God, Sammy boy, Sammy, Emma, listen, if the DNC is holding you guys hostage and they're making you say these things, blink twice, okay? We'll help.
Russia, there's no reason to believe, would have stopped invading countries.
And because we had a defensive agreement with Ukraine based on denuclearization.
But we said that we would never expand NATO east. Listen, this is bad news bears all around.
We're the ones more serious about stopping the threat of nuclear war, dude, because that was part of it. We provided an incentive for them to denuclearize and get fewer nuclear weapons in play here. That's what the defense is for.
But to be fair, it was unfair for me to bring up that scenario because you haven't taken any time to think about it, and it's been 2 years. So I'm going to tell you what, dude. It's been 25 minutes. We had this conversation. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you think about it. Call back.
Oh, you think it's over? Hold on. Let's go to the beginning of the call. All right. Sammy boy. Sammy. Take it away, baby.
Where are you calling from?
My name's Alfred, and I'm in Texas.
Alfred in Texas. What's on your mind?
I'm just wondering if you guys think Ukraine can actually win the war against Russia.
What constitutes win in your mind or in Ukraine's mind, do you imagine?
Oh, so you think they can? Okay.
No. I said, what constitutes win in your mind or in Ukraine's mind?
When they beat back Russia out of their territory?
All of it? Like the Donbass and Crimea?
Not Crimea.
So just the Donbass? I don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
Remember that also fantastic counteroffense? How's that turning out? By the way, listen. Not to talk like an armchair general, but I'm going to talk like an armchair general. When you're doing a counteroffense, you don't blurt it out to the world. Hey, I'm doing a counteroffense on this day. You just don't do it. You don't say, hey, this is what's going to happen. No, you got to surprise your enemy. Okay, it's just maybe I'm being too idealistic here. Maybe I'm wrong here, but you just don't broadcast it out to the world. By the way, how's that counteroffense doing? Type 1, oh, it's doing great. Type 2, I don't know who's left, sir.
Wow. Okay. So if it looks like to me, it's immoral to encourage people to fight a war that they cannot win. That's how I see it.
Whose opinion as to whether they can win the war or not is the one that we're supposed to subscribe to? Mine?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, you say it is immoral to encourage people to wage a war, and we'll get to the encourage part. But you say it's immoral to encourage people to wage a war against an opponent that they, or a war that they cannot win. Who determines whether they can win? Is it me? Am I in charge of that?
It's just looking at the numbers, how big Russia's army is, and they have nukes. And
right, they have nukes. Are you suggesting that the Russians are about to use nukes? Do you know if the Russians will use the nukes to save the Donbass or the Crimea?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. So I'm sorry. So again, I ask you, who gets to determine this? Me? Am I in charge of determining whether they can win or not? So that
I do know a lot of people. It's like TYT and Majority Report, and everyone else in the Vote Blue sphere, including Voshi. Remember him? All these people who were saying, "Oh, we got to do something to fight Russia. We got to fight Russia. We got to fight Russia," even though it was instigated and provoked into getting involved in this conflict. But I digress. I think it's important for us to remember that there were many people saying we have to give weapons to Ukraine. We have to do this, even though a more rational mind would be like, oh, we got to do diplomatic talks immediately and stop this war from continuing on. One day of fighting is just too much. We got to call a ceasefire right away. And now here we are, almost 2 years into this war, going on to 2 years. And now everyone is stuck in this little quagmire. Again, probably the most clear, level-headed mind in regards to this entire conflict would have to be Donald Trump himself. I just want people to stop dying. I want everybody to stop dying. The only clear, level-headed person in the room, Donald Trump. Who had that on your bingo card?
We can say about the morality, or is it you? Or is it Matt or Emma or Bradley? Or who gets to decide? Biden?
So do you honestly think?
Yeah, it's Biden. Biden's the one that's giving the thumbs up to this, including the Democrats. Jesus Christ, Sammy boy.
You know what you're finding is you can't answer that question. And your statement pivots on two important things. One is like the is encouragement, and the other is determine that they cannot win. And if you cannot tell me who is the arbiter of who cannot win, we can't even get on to the rest of your statement. But it's going to be you. Is it you? Just tell me. Is it you?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, so you're in charge of this whole thing as to whether they can win or not.
But how's this caller in charge of anything here? Sammy. Boy, he's getting triggered. He's getting triggered.
And how many of these Ukrainians have you talked to assess whether they think they can win? I'm just curious as to like how
I think they believe the state, whatever the state tells them.
Oh, so the Ukrainians are deluded.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to get the lay of the land. Don't get so defensive about it. I'm just trying to get the lay of the land.
Okay, hold on. Who is getting aggressive and who is not? The caller is more calm. This guy, Sammy. Husa. Believe in yourself. Husa.
You're going to decide whether the Ukrainians have the ability to.
Oh, I've just realized it. Just paused. Hang on, folks. Let me go ahead and bring up part 2 here real quick, so that way all of you can see the rest of it. Again, everyone be calm, cool, and collective, you hip cool cats.
Win or not. And how many of these Ukrainians have you talked to assess whether they think they can win? I'm just curious as to like how you get.
I think they believe the state, whatever the state tells them.
Oh, so the Ukrainians are deluded.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to get the lay of the land. Don't get so defensive about it. I'm just trying to get the lay of the land. You're going to decide whether the Ukrainians have the ability to take back. We're not even quite clear on what winning means, right? We haven't quite determined what that is.
Beating the Russians.
Yeah. What does a win look like? I mean, here's the thing. Russia's got those lands, okay? Like, this would not have happened were not Ukraine and the NATO powers instigating a conflict with Russia. Look, and as far as I'm concerned, both sides, this isn't a battle between oligarchs. This is a battle between governments. The only people who are being hurt are civilians, okay? Innocent people. And not to mention, with the global inflation, worldwide citizens' pocketbooks are being hurt by this war. And if this war escalates even further to the sequel that we've all been dreading for, World War III, well, let's just say It was great talking to all of you online. It's been great hosting this show. But if you do survive the nukes of flying, you will envy the dead.
It's back out of Ukraine.
Okay, out of Donbass and Crimea. What if they were to say, like, well,
Not
actually,
Crimea.
okay, not Crimea, just out of the Donbass. You are in charge of determining whether that's possible or not. And how do you know that that's what their agenda is?
Well, it needs to be part of their agenda.
Wait,
You should not fight
okay,
a
I'm
war
sorry.
you can't win.
You're in charge of what their
That's the whole
agenda should be too.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, how do you where do you find the time?
I mean,
for all
man,
this?
yeah, you need some.
Do you have a job?
assistance.
How rich it is coming from Sammy Boy Cedar asking if someone has a job. Listen. We're all entitled to an opinion, okay? I know when I host this show, I give my opinion, I give my commentary, and, hey, sometimes people like it, sometimes people hate it. But I do see other people's perspectives and points of views. And yes, I've had conversations with liberals and conservatives. And I will say one thing, and maybe this is just my bias coming through, but I've been able to have more civil conversations with conservatives and even Trump voters than with liberals. It's been far more civil with Trump supporters and liberals, Trump supporters and conservatives than with liberals. Again, when I have conversations with liberals, I remember one time this one person kept screaming at me from the rooftop, yeah, I'm a person. Or is it at the one time I brought up Trump at a party? I mean, Daniel has a similar story too. He mentioned Donald Trump's name to this. He was at a house party, not a house party, but an event, and it was and he just mentioned Trump's name, and this person was like, "Oh, please don't say Trump's name." And then I was at a house party because I was at this other event, and somehow the conversation got to politics. I forget when it was. It was maybe 2021. Yeah, I think maybe around that time. And I mentioned Trump's name, and this person was like, again, the way I would describe their face is the Dawson's Creek meme. Like, you mentioning Trump? Please don't. And they made that face. Don't mention his name. Again, liberals, calm down. Sammy boy, calm down.
Yes.
Okay, how do you find the time? You don't have kids though, right?
No.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. Because I know that if I was in charge of having to determine whether Ukraine could win or not, and also in charge of knowing that all the Ukrainians are deluded, and to determine what their agenda is in fighting this other country that has invaded their territory, I'd be exhausted.
How about if you reverse it, caller? What about Russia's ability to win the war?
I think if you do just a simple by the numbers, Ukraine has a much smaller army and they don't have nukes. And if it gets really bad, let's say they do very well and push the Russians back, I find it highly unlikely that Putin's going to take that.
And you think that so you think that Putin's going to win this by using the threat of nukes. And so let me ask you this, since we're getting to the question of morality about this, and you seem to be the expert, what is the morality of allowing a country to be invaded by another country?
Just remember, Sammy, we did it to Iraq, Afghanistan, and a few other countries too. So what Russia's doing, it's not all that special. It really isn't. I know that's a controversial statement to make because we did it too. It's just like a parent yelling at their kid. Where'd you learn to smoke? Where'd you learn to drink? Where'd you learn to talk to people like that? I learned it from you.
And stand by and provide no assistance.
Oh, I'm for sending like food and bread, just not bullets.
Okay. So, for instance, let's say you would have issue with, I don't know, if with anybody helping like Yemen. If Saudi Arabia and the United States are helping to bomb Yemen, you would take issue with any third country that might be providing weapons for Yemen.
I don't know about the.
No, I'm just trying to find the moral consistency because you've got this code, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. So you would have problems with anybody helping Yemen. What about Iraq? When we invaded Iraq, should there have been nobody? Like it would be immoral for any of the countries around there to have provided them with any type of weaponry.
Well, again, Sam, listen. We invaded Iraq based on a lie. Weapons of mass destruction. Now, yes, Saddam Hussein, bad guy, woogie boogie, tyrant. Remember, we made that guy. Okay, Saddam Hussein wouldn't exist were not for the United States. I mean, good old Donnie Boy Rumsfeld was shaking his hand. No one talks about that anymore. No one brings that up anymore about Donnie Boy, Donald Rumsfeld, known knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. shaking Saddam Hussein's hand and how we supported Saddam during the Iran-Iraq war. Again, just throwing it out there, folks. Because, again, you know, the whole world was given this threat by the Bush-Cheney administration. You either are with us or against us. Remember that? I remember that, and so does Petridge Farm. But here, I just got one more video. I know it's so condescending the way Sammy Boy is just talking to this, person who's calling in on his show. Let's play it.
Do I have that wrong? I'm unclear on your formulation here.
Could help bad guys. I'm going to return to my point, and I'm not trying to be hard here. I'm not sure you understand why it's immoral to help people fight a war they cannot win.
Well, that is what I'm trying to determine. What?
Do you understand why that's immoral?
But you're making a declarative statement based on nothing, basically.
I don't know
if they can, but the point is that eventually there will have to be a peace.
Highly unlikely. Okay, where does the morality machine kick in for you? At highly unlikely, impossible, plausible, possible, somewhat.
When it's highly unlikely.
When it's highly unlikely. And what's the click before highly unlikely? Somewhat unlikely? So if it's somewhat unlikely, it's moral.
It's more like a territory.
Wait, if it's somewhat unlikely, listen, I think that the United States should be saying to the Ukrainian government, you do not have the ability to take this or that. I don't know, frankly. I can't make that assessment. But
I do remember when this war started, everybody was always Ukraine. We got to give them weapons. We got to stand against Russia. Thanks, Rachel Maddow, corporate media, Democrats, Hillary Clinton for the Russiagate conspiracy. Thank you, establishment media, for giving people Russian derangement syndrome. Now, look, Putin is a bad guy, but he is not the overall bad guy of this story, because there's many bad guys in this story, especially what lead up to this conflict in Ukraine. But I do remember that story about Snake Island? Even Cenk Uygur covered that fake story about, what happened to the people at Snake Island. Russian naval vessel, go F yourself, and turned out to be fake news. Remember Ghost of Kiev, that fighter pilot? Everybody was cheering for that. Again, maybe myself and only a handful of other people in independent media, as all of you too, we all saw the writing on the wall. Oh my God, there's a war happening between Russia and Ukraine, and NATO is supporting Ukraine. Oh my God, this could lead to World War III if this escalates further. Again, every day this war goes on, I see it escalating to a boiling point. And we've played on the show already of those 2 drone vehicles, that drone boat with explosives on it. And then, of course, that flying drone that flew into Russia, into like a civilian populated area. Watch. Somebody's going to do something very stupid, and there will be no going back from it. So I understand liberals vote blue while you have Russian derangement syndrome, Trump derangement syndrome. But I got to tell you, it's messing with your mind, and you're acting like Sammy Boy.
But I assume that there are people who have an opinion on it who are tied to our military. What was it? What was the city in the north? They took I can't remember now. Bakhmut. My understanding is the reporting was the United States was saying you should clear out of Bakhmut a month or two before that battle ended, because you don't have the ability to secure that. And the Ukrainians felt otherwise. In that situation, U.S. moral, Ukrainian government immoral. You gotta give me, if we're going to subscribe to your sense of morality, you need to give us a little bit more in terms of signposts so we can do it when you're not on the phone.
Okay, well, I still don't think. Can you convince me that you understand why it's immoral to help people fight a war they cannot win? In a
complete vacuum, do I think it's immoral to arm people in a losing cause? I actually, I don't understand that if those people, because we're just going to talk generically, right? If those people came to me and they go, look, Sam, let's just make it down to one individual. That way we can sort of like put this in an area where I actually have the ability to provide some help. Somebody comes to me and says, dude, I've got this fight with this guy, and he's got a machine gun, and will you give me a machine gun? And I say, well, you know what? I think he's just better with his machine gun. So it would be immoral for me to give you.
But that's not what corporate media and the larger quote unquote independent media channels said. That's not what the Democrats said. That's not what the war profiteers said. Like I said before on the show, as the Russian tanks were heading towards the Ukrainian border, our politicians, both Democrat and Republican, in the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate, were given this heads up. Now, Before the war started, what do you think these politicians did who have ties to the military-industrial complex and war profiteering, both Democrat and Republican? What do you think these lawmakers did? And listen, diehard Democratic voters and diehard Republican voters, here's what your politicians were given two options for. Option A, call for diplomatic talks immediately, emergency session of the U.S. government so this war doesn't happen. Or option B, call up their brokers and third-party individuals who handle their investment accounts so they can make profit as the war begins. Here, I'll save you from pondering this. You could go check out Unusual Whales on Twitter. The Democratic and Republican lawmakers went for war profiteering. So yeah, they told their scrawny little friend, we're going to give you a machine gun and more. And now we don't know what's going to happen to all those weapons. Diehard Democratic voters and diehard Republican voters. Look, I've talked to both sides. You don't have a choice in this matter, and you just got swindled by your politicians. And Sammy boy, our government just said to the scrawny person, go fight the guy with the machine gun.
With the machine gun. But I can take it. No, I think what you should do is just do whatever he says. Otherwise, if I was to give you this gun that I have, it would be immoral because I don't think that you can win this fight. And the guy says, but I can win this fight.
But hold on, one more video. I know, just trying to show you guys just overall the conversation that took place. For context, that is. Just for context.
But in Goliath situation, or it's 99-1, but I can believe I can win that fight. And I would say, no, it would be immoral for me to give you this gun. Do I have the scenario right that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And
so,
you're speaking
and just to be clear,
he has a good cause.
Okay, he has a good cause. So just to be clear, my saying to him, I'm not giving you the gun because I don't trust your ability to assess this. You should just give up. And if that guy is going to rule your life for the rest of your life, you got to do that. I'm sorry, dude. Otherwise, I'll be immoral. Is that the way that you're saying it?
Okay, and that's fine. But,
all right. I mean, I think,
but you're
yes.
not Ukrainians. Right?
I will say, yes. I do not understand your concept of morality. If that is the scenario that you're talking about.
And the scenario that Sam is laying out is also not necessarily applicable to this because it's not a zero sum, one wins, one person wins, one person loses situation. There is eventually going to be a peace talk. And what funding the defense does is it puts Ukrainians in a better position in terms of peace negotiations.
But if everybody's dying, Emma, who's left? A country in ruins, an army destroyed, people's lives destroyed, civilians forever impacted. Examples, huge cases of post-traumatic stress disorder, madness and insanity, and the uncertainty of, oh, hey, will this conflict arise again? How much more do we have to keep on poking? Russia has nukes. The U.S. has nukes. God forbid if somebody sees that shiny red button and says, geez, what does this button do? And push it. That's it. By the way, folks, breathe in, breathe out. Take a look around your surroundings. Look at your smartphone or your computer or your TV. Notice that we have these wonderful luxuries. Once the nukes drop, we're never going to get back to this moment. There won't be a 1950s rebuilding of the world. No, we're never going to get back to here again. That's it. It's over. There's no great reconstruction. There's no, oh man, that World War III was a horrible time, but we rebuilt ourselves. No, that's it. That's it. The damage will be permanent. Human society will never get back to this point again. Because everyone's got, oh, it's Russia and Putin. Putin's a bad guy, a real bad guy. Putin, you bad person, you. Liberals, I'm impressed with how bloodthirsty and warlike you are. You surprise me, actually.
To maintain as much territory as possible, which should be the goal because it's the moral side. So like that, eventually there will be some sort of negotiation, hopefully at least. And then the Ukrainians are going to be in a better position because they're being more funded. That's the reality of the situation.
Let me ask you another question. Since I've answered yours, right? I've answered yours about what other situations in which do you ignore the self-assessment that people who are looking for help in other areas, do you determine it is moral to use your judgment over theirs?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I would model my response in accordance with what I said earlier.
as to whatever assessment you're able to make. I mean, that's a pretty big assessment.
If someone wants,
Give me a sense. I've answered your question. Give me a sense of when you make these assessments about what is militarily possible for the Ukrainian government. How much military training or expertise are you bringing to bear here? Because you have an opportunity now to convince the tens of thousands of people who are listening that
tens of thousands. Okay, Sam.
Maybe they don't subscribe to your sense of morality, but if they do, right, you got to prove or at least show your bona fides as to how you know that they can't get back specific pieces of territory. Also, you also have to know that Russia's designs on Ukraine end with the Donbass, right? Because that's what you're saying. Like, they may have the ability to secure the rest.
No, again. Okay. So that's enough of Sammy Boy. So what can we take away from this? There are many people who cheerleaded this war. Many people who said, we got to stop Putin. We got to do something about Putin. This is it for Putin. Yeah, I remember when this war was starting too, and everyone was saying, oh, Putin only has a few months left in power, and he's going to get a coup, and that didn't happen. I know a lot of people were surprised with the Wagner group, mercenaries. Yeah, that didn't happen. Look, as far as I'm concerned, this war could have been avoided. It was instigated. It was started. And we have to remember that there are Democratic and Republican politicians that are invested in Ukraine. Most notably the Democrats, a certain family, Biden's, for example, who are heavily associated with financial dealings with that government. I want to say that things are going to get better. I want to say that things will improve, that maybe there will be peace talks, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. In fact, what I see happening, unfortunately, is this conflict escalating further and further. I see people suffering. I see people who will be dying needlessly in a conflict that didn't have to happen in the first place. And when you have Sam here, deflect on really looking at the true cause of this conflict. The truth is, we could have stopped it, our government. We could have called for peace talks. We could have not escalated further. But the thing is, there are war profiteers in Congress. And there's an individual named Joe Biden who has huge financial ties and investments in Ukraine, along with his son, Hunter. This war is about money. And people are dying. People are starving. And this war is being felt all across the world, especially through the global economy. And if somebody does something stupid, like takes that limit, goes ahead and crosses that line, I can assure you, it's been nice knowing you, but we will never get back to this point of civilization ever again. I'll say this. I didn't have it on my bingo card when Trump said, I just want people to stop dying, and he would be the most level-headed person in the room. I know. I'm just as scared as you are. Here's hoping for peace, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.